Well, because it's annoying to me that your animal companions become pointless. And I think that the guy and his animal should be like the thing about his character. Because, my character Ulf, he's got all of these things allowing him to attack simultaneously with both hands with really powerful weapons, and he's got cleave and great cleave, and he just blenders through the field and just slaughters everything with really powerful weapons, and that is his thing. Mm-hmm. Slaughtering hundreds of, low-level creatures and just cutting a swath straight through everything is what he does. That's his job. The paladin, he stands on the wall and goes, what's the largest thing out there? And dead. Okay, what's the next largest thing out there? That's what the paladin's doing. The bard's going, you're all a lot stronger for no explicit reason. and, and that's all really cool, and they've all got a place. And then you got the druid, who's like, okay, you're buffed, you're dead, death, strength, thwap, you're dead, and his dog's like...
That's basically what happened to
cool,
Inuit throughout the entire game.
There's nothing for him to do. Because if he gets in the field, he's going to die, and he can't do anything because he's a dog.
There have been several occasions where
dog archer.
When Lobo got his eyes shot out, which I found strangely coincidental since his twin got the same eye shot out. Yeah. But when he got his eye shot out, Inuit was there to defend him. And it wasn't like, I hadn't been using him, but I remembered at that moment that I had an animal companion.
That brings up an interesting point, though, is that how often and how much should the animal realistically be in the story other than just being a companion? Because
I think they really should be. Excuse me. Because, to me an animal should... It's like... I don't understand how they're not a major part. Because they should be just as much as a main character as any of the other players. Because it's hard to ignore, like a full-grown male wolf helping. You can't just ignore that. That's not just a thing on the sidelines. That should be a seriously important fact. That the party has a full-grown wolf. And a point I wanted to bring up before I forget. It says in the player's handbook that when you get stronger, you can trade in your animal companion. You can let it go, and a new one will come in. Mm-hmm. I do not like that. Just straight up, I hate that. Who is just going to go, oh, Spot, I don't need you anymore. Come here, Wolfie. Or like Bear, or just a dire wolf, or whatever the hell. It's like, you just gave away your dog. It's your animal companion. You just gave it away for a bigger one? What's wrong with you?
That is... I think could be in the game that can be considered an evil act.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's entirely for gameplay though. It's 100% because of mathematic gameplay mechanics. It's like, oh, your animal will not be strong enough to survive past this point, so you're gonna have to get a new one. And it's just like, what? I don't like my dog or something? I'm just using it as a meat shield.
And
it's my dog.
For you out there watching this now, if you want to treat this like an MMO, which is what that is.
That's pretty much exactly what it is.
If you want to treat it like an MMO and be a douchebag player, then you trade in your animal companion and get a new one, a stronger one, because of level balance and game mechanics and hit dice ratios and all that
if you
BS.
Start out with a squirrel, then that squirrel should be awesome. It should be amazing. Because I can't fathom this guy just going through the woods and a dog comes up to me, feed it, and they create a bond. And then, maybe, because, levels are independent of time. So it could be 3 or 4 years before you level up again. And then so basically you spend up to 2 years with this animal, and you learn how the animal acts. You teach it tricks because of its intelligence bonus and the fact that they get free tricks and stuff. And you really start to get to know this animal. And then you're like, I'm a really good shot now. I can really put down some orcs. I don't need you anymore, dog. So then why did you have it in the first place? That's not...
And that brings in a scene where the guy takes his animal to a trusted friend's house and say, I'm going somewhere that is too dangerous to take Sparky. Would you care for him until I get back?
Yeah.
That I can understand. That belongs in the story. And if you have such a small and cold and shriveled little black snot ball of a heart that would allow you to trade off your animal companion, no animal is going to companion with you anyway.
Right.
Because animals they're empathetic to the people to whom they bond, with whom they bond.
Animal companion till death. It's like so many people, a dog walks up to them and they rescue and they feed it, and then that dog dies under their protection from old age. You don't just...
Yeah. So
I can understand you get to a certain point and a new animal becomes a thing, so you have more animals.
So
But I can't... It's like, you're a ranger. You are one with the wilderness. Why would you just go...
Right. And if you've done this...
That image stuck in your head?
That image is stuck in my head. Because it's literally what's going on. Because you say you give it back to the wilderness, you say, go on, be free, and then you just get a new one.
And you players out there, if you've done this, subtract 15,000 experience points from your character. And if you are a dungeon master that had players that have done this, subtract 15,000 experience points from your players who have done this.
You don't like it, I see.
I don't like that at all. I never have. I agree with that philosophy totally.
Yeah.
Because number one, it's metagaming, and you know how we feel about metagaming here at the tavern. We don't
condone it.
We don't condone it.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, it's totally bogus with any kind of reality of anyone who would bond with any kind of an animal.
Getting rid of your animal just because you're not putting out enough DPS is one of the stupidest things. Yeah. It's like, okay, so the DM needs to give you more. If the DPS of your group is the only thing you're thinking about, you still shouldn't have to get rid of the dog.
Right. And you had a point about this?
I actually thought of, while you guys were ranting,
I was getting carried away quite heavily.
You very much were.
By, like, the magical...
I actually did think of animal companions in a fantasy realm, a fantasy novel series, and that is the Game of Thrones. Very obvious.
Good point.
The dire wolves, they were animal companions. They were almost familiars because they were almost given to the characters.
To the wars, they are familiars.
That is a good point. But what I'm saying is that they were almost pulled from the ether and given to them, like 6 babies perfectly matching their owners. I mean, that's almost like coincidence.
The dragons are not familiars. The dragons are companions.
Animal companions? Yeah, because they chose.
They're not magically linked in any way.
Yeah, they choose their owners. That's why Khaleesi has Drogon and not the other two.
Well, that brings up an interesting point that I would like to bring up when you finish bringing up your point.
Well, that was my animal companion / familiar reference was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, the most recent image we have of that in current media.
Yeah.
So, what is the difference between an animal companion or is there a difference between an animal companion and an animal that you have raised and bonded with since its birth or very young? Or is animal companion just the in-game definition of someone who has taken in an animal and raised it?
Well, I like to call
Maximilian
the tavern cat who always pops up in videos.
He's not been across the table.
He's locked in the bedroom, but he is my animal companion. As mentioned before in previous videos, I rolled myself up as a ranger, like Lyric is a ranger. So, being a ranger, I have an animal companion. Therefore, Maximilian automatically filled the slot. And the more I thought about it, the more I talked about it, the more I realized that he was my true animal companion. We can converse, we can get along more than any, like, he's my animal. Everyone knows that he's mine, not just because he belongs to me, but because he accepts me.
He's the
as,
only one, you're the only one he responds to, really.
Right, like, I say his name and he says, Mom? Like, that's how he meows. But
You went serious crazy cat lady there for a minute.
I'm okay with that.
Mama?
Well, it's mostly because I realize how ridiculous it sounds. But Maximilian is my animal companion, while the other cats in the house, Lexi and Artemis, are just my cats. Max, I get along with on a level that we get along with no one else.
There's a stronger connection between you two than the other two.
Yeah, so I can probably, like, I can honestly say that Max is my animal companion. And that's just because I have such a close-knit bond with my feline.
Because it goes pet, companion, familiar. The level of connection. Because familiars are almost only mentally connected, I think. That's what classifies them as a familiar. When they're literally a part of who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be separated because you're literally part of the same entity.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think familiars should be really powerful. Because they're the same person, technically.
Well, they should be powerful in proportion to their owner.
Well, that's the Game of Thrones reference, is that Summer and Ghost and Arya's Nymeria.
I saw the geek points on your head going -1, -1.
Well, in the book,
-1.
in the book, Nymeria is a lot bigger than she is in the TV show. Arya has dreams while she's in Bravos. She has dreams about her wolf who is still in the Kingswood, with the hundreds of other wolves that she has claimed in her pack.
Wow.
And I mean, the bond is super strong with the Starks. And
no, that actually sounds more like a familiar. She's
yeah,
getting
that's
mental
what.
images
Well, you
from
said
it.
earlier that the wargs,
Yeah,
the wargs in the book are more like some sort of magic user.
So does that mean that people who have psionics and just the scions and really powerful mental people, that they can also have familiars? Because that's exactly what we're talking about.
There are in various iterations of the game.
Just
there
because
are
you can't cast spells, does that mean that you can't have a familiar?
There are methods of enthralling.
Enthralling? But can something be enthralled willingly? Is that a thing? Because I think it should be a thing.
Well,
because an animal comes to you and you guys get a really strong connection and you basically eventually become one in thought. That's a thing that has happened in the fantasy world, but we don't have any rules for, it seems. Which there should be rules for everything. Because it's like, I would like to grow tentacles out of my forehead. It's like, there should be rules
companion.
for that. Yeah, so I think I'm the kind of guy that if you ask for something and I think is logical or in some way can happen, I make up rules on the spot and write it down. Sometimes I don't always write it down. I pretend to write it down. I grab a pencil and go, and nothing happens. I pretend it happens.
So, in conclusion to this animal rant, what would you, like the last 2 cents, what would you consider to be the most important thing when considering an animal companion or familiar? Heavy question.
Why I think probably the most important thing is make sure, like 100% certain, your character goes with your animal companion. Like if you
Not vice versa.
For example, say you have a barbarian. He's not like a serious outdoor woodsy barbarian. He's more of the grug's gonna smash some faces in kind of barbarian. Like all he thinks about is, I need to kill somebody. That's about it. And he's like, I need to eat in between my kills, but bullshit. I need to smash. That's my calling is smashing. He's not gonna get a squirrel. He's not, unless it's one hell of a squirrel. If it was a ferret,
Woo!
but
Because that's what sound ferret makes.
if you threw a ferret like a boomerang,
Actually, that makes me wonder why
That'd make a horrible
barbarians do
sound,
not get animal companions.
wait, what barbarians?
Yeah, because I have a feeling
Well,
that
Gath of Baal, if we go back to the first, is Gath of Baal was the penultimate barbarian, and he had a war horse and
a wolf.
a big and an enormous wolf.
Yeah.
It could be considered a dire wolf.
And that mean, when you think about what barbarians are, they would almost have to have some sort of hunting dog.
Well, that's a topic for another time, because that's a completely different rant. What classes should have what?
I'll write that down
And,
for another video.
You know, honestly, I don't, believe it or not, I don't think druids should have animal companions. I don't, it doesn't...
We'll
for me,
discuss that in a different video.
because it doesn't really make sense for their class. I believe barbarians should and druids shouldn't, but again, that's a topic for... That's a topic for another... That's a completely different video all on its own. I'll explain my reasoning.
Well, my thoughts on it are, it is based entirely on out-of-game...
Mathematics, pretty much?
No, it's based on out-of-game philosophies, because there are some people... I mean, there are reasons... My own personal philosophy is that it doesn't matter what you do, it's why you do it that makes it right or wrong. And, you know, that's that whole, there's no right and wrong in heaven and earth, but thinking makes it so. That's a Shakespearean thing.
Yeah.
If your player, no matter who they are or what their animal is, whether it's a stereotypical wolf or a unicorn or whatever.
I would love a unicorn.
If they
blood.
If they're doing it for the wrong reasons, then they shouldn't be allowed to have it. If they're doing it for metagaming, if they're doing it for min-maxing purposes, you know, if they're only doing it to get more, like you said, like the
if they're like focusing on, it's like, well, the wolf only gets one attack and it doesn't really get a lot of DPS with that. But if I get like a badger, it only does less damage, but it gets 2 attacks, double the chance of critical.
Yeah, if they're mathematicking it like that,
yeah,
no.
No, if you're like me, like, ooh, I get an animal companion. I want a squirrel.
See, I want a squirrel. I don't want to put enlarged person on that squirrel, and then put bull strength on that squirrel, and then give it fire breath. Grabbing somebody, oh no!
No,
Squirrel. This is why I don't play people. Animal companions.
And it was just like my dad said, your grandpa, when he said that he was squirrel hunting and he injured a squirrel, and he picked it up and he was gonna wring its neck real quick and put it in the bag with the rest of them, and it wasn't quite as dead as he had hoped it was. And he said he picked it up and the quote was, it was beautiful. He said, "Every place that squirrel touched me, it bit me." So what I'm visualizing is he sees a squirrel laying there like half dead, and he touches it, and it goes, and it just ate him up.
It's like, my hand is blood.
So yeah, squirrel could be a good thing.
Yeah.
But some people just shouldn't be allowed to have it, and there's just some reasons why it shouldn't.
It's like, I wouldn't mind playing a character that gets a familiar and just not take that familiar. Because there's a lot of characters that the mindset of the character, it doesn't make any sense they even have one.
And I have wizards, and you know,
yeah.
And that brings me to
a very
first edition.
Topic, really.
The first edition rules. It was the game is Bolgan's Dungeon, and it was a first edition game, and they had one of the characters had a wizard named Galavral. And Galavral was your stereotypical wizard, and he had I want to say a bat as a familiar, and he used it all the time, all the way up into the 20s of levels, all the way up into epic levels. There was no epic levels back then. It was either you were epic or you were dead.
Yeah.
The epic and the dead. And he used that bat all the time, and when he wasn't using it, he had a little pocket dimension cage for it that kept it completely safe.
That's awesome.
And yeah, because he was
like a bat.
Yeah, and he would just open it up, and the bat would fly out, and do his bidding, and it got injured really bad once, and I don't remember him ever letting it out again. Well, no, he did let it out a couple times, but he never put it into harm's way like he did that time. But he used it all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it really depends. It really depends on what you're doing. and how much attention you're paying to the details of the game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important parts right there.
That is. So, what are your parting thoughts?
So many parting thoughts.
Yeah, we're
man.
just
We could
going
go.
on. I'm really surprised there's so much to talk about because I wasn't expecting to, really think of anything.
Well, as I mentioned before, I think the most important thing when it comes to having an animal companion or a familiar is learning how to play a character with one. And I'm not saying I'm saying how you worded it earlier was, I think, the best way to word it was how to play an animal companion with a character, not a character with an animal companion. Because the most important part of that character would be its animal companion.
The fact that they have an animal.
So I think that if you're looking into playing one, or if you're already playing one and you're not doing a good job like me, then I think you need to do a little more research. And I'm saying do that with just, how you act with your own animals if you have them, or if you have any reference of like the Game of Thrones series, then like how they use their animal companions, how they use their familiars, how you can use your animal companion in game to your benefit.
And put on magic missile, put on burning hands, owl's wisdom, bull strength, and permanence.
Oh, you could cast returning on your ferret.
Your boomerang ferret. I'm done with this conversation.
The champ with the magic missile would always gives away his and
it looks up at you and says, "Here's his nose."
So what about you? What are your
If you were a
final
wizard,
thoughts?
you could use people's noses as a magical weapon.
You could.
I shouldn't have an animal companion.
My final thoughts are the most important
thoughts on this topic.
The most important considerations.
Let's be honest, all of your thoughts are the most important here.
I doubt that very seriously. But the most important consideration in my own gaming is the story comes first.
Yeah.
The story comes first. The rules, they're way down the list. I mean, they're way
the
way
demon is
down.
the ultimate decider of the rules anyway.
Yeah, right. And so if it benefits the story, if it fits the story,
I didn't need that finger.
if it makes sense,
Yeah.
and if the player can handle it and is doing it for the right reasons, then it should happen. But if it doesn't benefit the story, if it's not right for the player, if it doesn't make sense,
Yeah. So like,
then
keeping a dire bear in a dungeon crawl doesn't even really make sense at that point.
You get stuck.
And that the
All the
dungeon
time.
crawls are all your guy does, then...
You get stuck all the time. But bears live in caves.
Then again, there's also random ogres in locked door. Open the door, I'm free! Because he instantly gets shot in the face.
or the wizard, like Ugano the Inappropriate, who has a familiar octopus.
Well, if you had the pocket dimension in it,
It would be
open
full
up
of
or
water.
returning, should be like,
That's all we have for this conversation.
Like
We're gonna get
you
off
use the
track
grab
easily.
stuff and whoop.
Put a little rope on it.
Yeah. I could use any familiar.
Cast bark skin on it.
Bark skin.
Bark
Make it
skin.
hold its
Make it
tentacles
like
out.
that, and then like a grappling hook. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, pose like this, and it goes.
It'd be really funny. Have like a dolphin. Or like
A dolphin.
a dolphin with a pocket. When you get the pocket dimension and you open up your shirt, a dolphin comes out.
Or a moray eel.
A more eel. Yeah. We're done. No, we're not, but
Well, I think we should do the rest of this off camera.
certainly.
So with that, I think this concludes this conversation for the time being. We'll continue this with the what classes should have animal companions and familiars video later to follow. If you like this, please like, subscribe, share, comment below, visit us at dwarventavern.net. I beat you to it.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think.
And that's it. So, on behalf of the whole cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern, this is your host.
Dr. Jeff Goins.
I'm Lear Goins.
I'm Ian Goins.
And we wish for you to want for nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it,
Then I
charged.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.